Hello and welcome everyone to the episode 10 of Practical Show, the weekly show where we focus on business growth strategies and tools such as AI tools and many other things like accountability, etc. So, as always, I have my co-host here, Anna. And Anna, like every single other week, right? Can you tell us what we've got lined up for today?
So today we will be, hello everyone, first of all, and today we'll be talking about video editing, AI language models that everybody talks about, but we'll have some comparison to give you. And our VIP guest will be sharing with us some secrets about clear sales messages. Over to you, Thomas.
All right. Well, what have you done today or in the last week, Anna, with any AI? Have you got anything that you've been doing?
I am enjoying so much of image creation, adding videos, different, I think different little extras that make that video stand out, I guess, right? But I'm learning so much from it. And obviously, there are so many different tools. But I guess my advice, even from this week to everybody, if you picked one, make sure that you spend enough time to understand how it works. Because if you jump from one to another, even so they're similar, but you won't get the maybe right tool that you need for the business. But if you try one at least for a little period, and then you can decide, do I really want that? And another thing I found that it's not just one tool, maybe two, three that I'm getting familiar with. I can put them together. So that's what I was at this week.
All right. Well, myself, what I've been doing is, again, you might well say it's around images. I had, as a few people know, I'm away next week. In order to have a show, I needed to do something with our show. And I have a video background. Back in 1992, I had a full-time video business. And when you look at the comparison where we are now in comparison then, back in 1992, when I wanted to edit a video, I had to use two VHS machines. One machine played the original tape and the other played or recorded what I wanted. And I also used an external sound device and a mixer to bring in music, etc. And the process was very slow and complicated. The equipment was bulky and very expensive. And if I wanted to create a short video, it took hours. As a matter of fact, for every hour's footage I recorded, it took approximately 3 hours to edit. And when you look at what we have today and the technology and that I've been using for the last couple of weeks for editing videos and this week as well, an example would be to create a short or a reel out of a video I had. It took me 1 minute to create 10 shorts, right? And instead of paying for Adobe Premiere and tools that I've used in the past, or even, like I said, the slow technology, paying €20 or $20 or £20 for a cloud-based tool with AI in it, it leaves us in a situation where we can create TikTok videos, Instagram videos, and
That would be
without
so
any.
great, Thomas, isn't it, for any businesses now who want to create video content as easy as that, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just a couple of tools. Yeah.
yeah, and they're very, very easy to learn. The one that I've been using recently is called Scenery. I am not affiliated to it or anything, but if anybody wants to check it out, I'm not getting paid to mention the name or anything, but yes, but it is absolutely fantastic. So, Anna, I do know you want to talk a little bit about large language models.
Yeah, so because I think you and me had a chat there, was it last week? We just said this is our 10th show, and our very first one, we looked into ChatGPT and how you can use it for a business. But some of the information could be probably outdated at this stage, right? And there are so many other models out there. And the one question that will be asked, even through our poll, which we actually introduce when you come back, right? They said there's something very practical for businesses and how you can use that. So I said, okay, can I look at some of the language models and see, can I compare them, look at the pricing and look at how user friendly they are? So I picked a couple of them some of the main ones, and some of them I didn't even know that exist. But if you could show maybe some of the logos there, Thomas. So the first one, obviously, will go with ChatGPT, right? That's the most well-known, I guess, and people are using more and more ChatGPT nowadays, and I'm one of them also. But what you use it for and how careful you have to be, especially when it comes to data protection. So please take time and learn about it before you actually go and start using it for a business in full. Then, so what I did is ChatGPT is the first one, and it's run by OpenAI. So it's best for conversational AI, customer support, and text generation. User friendliness of that, right? It's very user friendly, widely available, and it's easy to set up. High quality conversation and responses, human like, and it generates pretty good texts. Now, pricing of this model, it's free tier available. You can use it as is, or you can go with paid plan, which approximately $20 a month, right? And you obviously can have the better content and it responds faster. But yeah, and after a couple of months of using it, I went myself on paid version. The next one, which again, a lot of people get more familiar with this one now, which is Claude, right? And it's safe and ethical AI. So it's slight difference there. And again, there's conversational introductions there. User-friendly with a focus on ethical safeguards. So that could be probably the main difference between ChatGPT and Claude. Then we have high quality, safely focused output. And it's excellence. It's actually very excellent responding. And I guess the text, the content is slightly better in one way, right? And it is free, and they do have some paid version also. But pricing of those two, more or less the same. Just to be careful saying for businesses, if you have one or two or three, it's very easy to fall into trap. Yeah, it's only $20. But if you have a couple of them, that could actually accelerate to bigger numbers. Then we have another one by Google. And the Google one, which I don't use that often, but I wanted to learn what it is and how it works. It's actually quite good in contextual understanding, and it's good about the question and answer kind of a classification if you want. And it does your segment analysis quite well. Is it friendly? Yes, it is friendly, but not probably as the other two I found. It's only my own opinion, right? But it's excellent for understanding the language context, and it kind of puts and compare quite a lot of things by only asking one question. So it gives you a bit more and saves a bit more time. And it is open source and it's free to use. And let's take maybe two more, right? One is by Meta AI. I didn't know about this, but it's LLAMA. That's what it's called. And it's very good for research. If people are into research and they want to have kind of an efficient and large scale data tasks, that will be quite good for it. Is it user-friendly? Yes, it is research user-friendly. Again, high quality for research and efficient, but you need kind of little tweaking when you're working in that. And it is free to use for some research purposes. And maybe I'll take one more in this one, which is, I'll go to the very end, I guess. It's called Bloom. Bloom is by Big Science. And what it is good at, it's multilingual tasks and large-scale research. It is research-friendly. It's high quality for multilingual purpose. And again, it's easy to use and open source and free to use. That's what I wanted to say. There are a few others if you want to research, but the main message is today, before you commit to any of those, please spend time and research what do you need it for. And I will urge you all to learn about the ethical side and how user-friendly that is before you actually pay on any of that. So thank you.
Okay, Anna, you did say that things have changed since we started. Our very first show was where I was talking about Chat GPT, and I gave a demo on how to use it and customize it. And some of what I said when I looking at the back on the shows during the week, some of what I said there is out of date because they brought in memory where it can now remember what you're talking about. So yeah, it is all changing very quickly. That's 10 weeks ago or 11 weeks ago, where it's completely changed, right? Yeah. So
because of that, Thomas, that's, I guess, another a very clear message that you need to use, and you need to stay a little bit longer, not changing it week to week, but a little bit longer to understand what is it all about.
all right.
So
So what have you got to say about that comment there from Desmond Lowry?
I can't see that.
It
What
says,
does it
I
say?
think Claude AI has less hallucinations. I find it more reliable than ChatGPT, and he
Very
is
true.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, he is right.
yeah, he's right about that one. I think, Anna, it's about time that we told people that are out there listening to us that we can actually bring them on the show as well. We have an option. We have loads of technology here. If instead of just putting up comments, and we love that, keep the comments coming, right? We'll put them on the screen and we'll engage with you that way. But if you want, we can send you a link where you can come on the show, engage with us and our VIP guest, who I'm bringing on now in a moment. Unless there is anything else, Anna, you want to add, I'm going to go ahead and introduce.
No, I am eager to hear what our VIP guest will say. Really eager.
Right. So, as Anna said earlier on, our guest name is James Newell, and James. We're delighted to have James on the show today, and James is from Clear Sales Message. James addresses the everyday issues we face when it comes to selling and developing a clear sales message, along with the selling confidence that you need to succeed. And what James is amazing. He comes up with lots of one-liners, right, that are probably totally unique to him. And one of them is, selling is a conversation with money at the end. He's the author of 5 books. The first one is, no surprises here, it's called the Clear Sales Message book. It focuses on the 7 core questions your clients will be thinking about asking you prior to making a purchase from you. The next one is how to write a tagline. Then he's got the 3rd book, how to name something. And the 4th book is understanding your buyer. Now that one is one that you should definitely check out. I believe they're all on Amazon. And that one, there's a lot of stuff inside in that one. And the 5th book is called Scared to Sell. And
I think a lot of people can resonate with that one, right?
Yeah.
No entrepreneur.
There's James Wright, and he's got a lot of good testimonials there where we grew from 3 million to 11 million with James' help. And his mantra is, if they don't understand it, they can't buy it. So, James, welcome to the show. We're delighted to have you on the show. And yeah, well, there we go. This is the man that was going to teach us everything about getting a clear sales message.
No pressure on me then. No pressure at all.
Sure, right. Welcome, James. And as with every our VIP guest, I have a question for you. So we've talked about AI and we've talked about other digital tools on our show. So if I ask you, what is your experience with AI and how did it help or does it help your business?
So interestingly enough, I don't really use AI in the clear sales message side of my business at the moment, but I am on the board of an AI startup called Smart Training AI. So in the same way, like FireOB and Myers-Briggs, you can get your personality style. This software tells you what your learning style is, and then it helps the people that are training you to adapt their training material to appeal to your learning style, whether that's, you like to read things, like to watch things, like to listen to things, etc. So it's really, really early stage, but fascinating what the technology can do.
Even so, you say early stage, but even now, within 10 weeks, we know how things go so fast. Yeah, so I wish you all the best with that, and I'd love to hear more moving forward. Thanks. So. Okay, over to you, Thomas.
Yeah, well, look, I've been looking at James's website, and once I knew we had James coming on, I decided I was going to do a little bit of research, and I was fascinated. And I think a lot of our listeners will be very interested in your backstory, how you ended up where you are today, and where it all began. If you wouldn't mind sharing that with some of our listeners, please.
Yeah, 100%. So my career in sales started in 2006. I was working for Daimler Mercedes-Benz. I was only supposed to be there for about 6 months whilst I worked out what I wanted to do when I grew up. I'd just come back from traveling, and I found myself there 12 years later. And I spent those 12 years desperately trying to, I always want to have my own business, spent 12 years desperately trying to have my own business and do what I wanted to do. But in the meantime, in my day job, I got really good at selling and account management, and I came to this sad realization in about 2016, 2017 that you can be really, really good at something but just be deeply, deeply unhappy. So on the face of it, and my friends could never understand this because I get a new Mercedes-Benz every 6 months or so, never really had to pay too much for the car itself. I worked from home a long time before COVID, etc. So it was a bit of a big deal. And they couldn't believe that I was unhappy with my work and with my job, but I just couldn't see any future in it. I wanted to do something for myself. So I ended up, funnily enough for you, Thomas, being introduced to BNI. And somebody said, why don't you come along to BNI? Just start talking to people, start networking. You can find out what this amazing business is going to be, and then you can go from there. And it wasn't obvious to me at the time, but the first few people that I spoke to, I would just speak to them saying, this is my history. I'm trying to have a business. And it became very clear that I should probably teach people how to sell, because I'd had a great experience. Across the 12 years, I transacted £600 million worth of business for Mercedes-Benz. I'd never missed a target in that time. I always have the caveat that I worried about every single month. I never sat on my laurels, but I never missed a target. And I didn't really know how. Besides, working very hard and being diligent, I didn't really know how. So I started to think about trying to decode what I was doing. And it became very clear that it just comes down to communication, where you place your focus, how you look after people. So with that, I then went back to BNI and said, look, I can definitely help you sell more stuff in my 60 seconds. I can definitely help you sell more stuff, but I don't know what it's going to look like. So I'll work for free in return for a testimonial, so everybody's going to win. And it became very clear very quickly that if you ask somebody, particularly in the small business world, not just in a BNI setting, but in the small business world, what do you do? How do you do it? Why should I choose you? Oh, you're a bit expensive, etc. That can floor most people. They don't have a good enough answer, or they don't have any answer, and it's really obvious they're reaching around and it's not compelling enough. So I realized that the problem was the value proposition. They need to be able to communicate their offer first of all, but value proposition isn't very sexy and exciting, is it? So I wanted to productize what I was doing, make it into a very tangible, very appealing thing, and that was where I stumbled across the term clear sales message. So a clear sales message is basically a value proposition, but it's a set of assets and arguments and articulations for how we present our business in a confident, clear and concise, commercially viable way. It's a bit like if you have your branding guidelines, these logos, these fonts, these colors. I produce messaging guidelines for people, these words, terms, assets, and arguments. I hate the term arguments, but there we go. These word terms, assets, and arguments. And when you have, quote unquote, an answer for everything, and you've explored all the questions, what do you do, Thomas? Why should I choose you? How does it work? Do we even need this? Could we do this ourselves, etc., etc.? Once all of that's mapped out, and you've got some really well thought out and researched answers for those things, your confidence skyrockets, but your conversion also skyrockets. And in addition to that, far more people actually understand what you do for a living. There's a huge issue. And if you're of a certain age, you'll remember the TV show Friends and the character Chandler, and famously nobody really knew what he did for a living. Most people live that as a reality. Even their partners, their loved ones, people they live with, have no real idea what they do for a living.
Yeah.
And if you have a small business, that's a problem.
In my own business,
that's me in a nutshell.
No, James, you mentioned their confidence, right? Confidence, but it's a lot to be said about that, isn't it? No matter what part of business you're trying to develop, but the confidence, especially when you give that message. And in sales, ultimately, it's a big thing,
We're judging people all the time. We just don't verbalize it. And it's an issue. It's called correlation and causation. So it's one thing for me to be really good at what I do for a living. So I'm an amazing carpenter, whatever, I do whatever I do. It's really, really amazing. If I can't explain to you what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, it kind of implies I can't do it, which isn't actually the case, but that's the logical kind of deduction we make as the as the person having that conversation, like, well, if you kind of explain how he's doing that, how can he actually do it? That's not the case, but this is where so many people miss out because they've never been taught how to communicate. They've never been given the tools and structure to do it. So there's so many great businesses out there don't sell too much because they just can't get their point across. People don't understand it ultimately.
Yeah. Listen, you said something there, and we are working in closely related fields, I would say, right? When I do sales funnels for people, I really have to dig deep into what their offering is. And I think you're going to say you find the very same, and their unique selling point. And when I ask people about their unique selling point, and it's very, very common in BNI, they say, well, because I'm good at what I do, right? But that's not going to sell. So my question to you is, right, obviously you come across that as well. How do you help people break down their offering and identify a really unique, and I'm using the word unique as it's meant to be used here, unique selling point, not just a wishy-washy type of a...
Well, right? I'll pick you up on unique straight away, because unique of its own accord does not inherently have value. So if I was covered head to toe in glitter on this podcast right now, I'd be unique. I'd be unlike any other guest you've ever had. You'd certainly not forget me. But don't worry, I don't have any glitter. But it doesn't add any value whatsoever, does it? So I tend to go for, and so it's a bit of a red herring. People feel like they have to be the first, the best, the only, Guinness Book of Records. So we either get, we're professional, we're reliable, we're affordable, which kind of, well, there's standard features. I don't really care about those. Or we get, we're the first and only, and people try and push things to the extreme. All it needs to be is an ESP, an engaging selling point. What does your buyer care about? It could be that you do it in a certain period of time. You offer a certain level of service. You specialize in a particular thing. You've had great previous results or whatever. It doesn't have to be world changing, but your buyer has to care about it. It has to be meaningful for them. And to the point a second ago, Anna, you've got to deliver it with confidence. So you've got to own it when you say it. So we deliver our work in 4 hours. Everybody else takes 5 hours or more. That's probably why you should choose us. So you've got to be able to deliver it in a way which just says, yep, we know what it is and we own it. Most people don't deliver things with confidence.
I love it. Something you said there. Unique, not unique, you said
engaging.
Yeah,
so ESP, not USP.
I've never heard that one before. ESP.
That's
wow.
so cool.
Okay.
That's cool. Yeah,
because
I have
I
it
made it
written
up.
down also.
Well, if you made it up,
I made it up.
He's very good at one-liners.
you own it, right? Yes. What have we got here? Des Lowry says he's putting up stuff here. He says one-stop shop. I don't know what he means by that, but anyway, Des, if you want to elaborate on that, one-stop shop, maybe. You picked up on it, James. Yes. What does he mean by that?
Well, if you're a one-stop shop, this can be an issue. It feels like a really attractive thing, doesn't it? The one-stop shop. But I call this the anything problem. And it's funny that you guys are like talking about AI, because AI currently suffers from the anything problem. It can do whatever you want. Yes. What would you like it to do? And there's a lay person like, I don't know, will it do this? So we have to guide people. So it's perfectly okay to be a one-stop shop for whatever it is, but we have to then kind of break that down into the specifics. With a one-stop shop, from finding this to doing that, from start to finish in the life cycle, we do all of it. You've got to talk about those specifics. Because if you come along with a very kind of open message of, whatever you need, we can do it, it's very hard for people to then connect to it. So one of the other things that, one of my other articulations of what selling is, it's about really good communication and finding that connection point. And the connection point is where what your buyer needs and what you do overlap, and also what they care about. So the one-stop shop is great, but you've got to be a bit more specific about what it is. Otherwise, it's like AI, right? What could we use AI for? That's why
even AI, James, you have to train it, isn't it? You have to tailor it. Otherwise, it gives you answers that are absolutely not you. So how is that going to relate to your confidence when you're talking about something that doesn't relate to what you do?
But this is where prompt engineering's come in, right? So most people won't just sit at ChatGPT. Well, you might do it and just ask it random questions. If somebody says, here's the top 10 prompts you should be using, blah blah blah, that's far more compelling because you can connect to it. It's closer to what you do. So it's all about specificity and connecting with people. It's not rocket science, but it's just not common practice.
And connecting to your own message, or connecting to what you do. So you need to look at
Yeah.
both sides. Yeah.
And it's up to you to connect the dots. So I lecture at UCL on my methodology, and one of the students there a couple of years ago said that I shouldn't be called clear sales message. I should be called obvious sales message, because some of the stuff that I talk about, and they meant it in a kind way, some of the stuff I talk about is literally pointing out the obvious. And we do need to do that. We take things for granted, like opening hours, where do you deliver to, really basic machinations of what your business might do. We've got to point it out.
Yeah, you're talking about obvious stuff, and again, this became very obvious to me when I read your website. You have created your own, I'm going to use the word unique here again, right?
There's no value in that. No, it's fine.
Conversion equation, right? Do you want to tell people about your conversion equation, what it is? And I think it's mind-blowing. And again, it's one of those one-lines you came up with, right?
I've got lots of one-liners. How long have you got? So you're making it sound a lot more fancy than it is. So, but essentially, clarity of message plus confidence of delivery equals conversion. So if I'm really explicit about what I sell, so this is what I sell and this is why you might need it, but I kind of do it in a meek and mild way where I don't really give you eye contact, and if you want to buy it, Tom, you don't have to. So if I'm really clear but I'm not confident, it's not going to happen. If I'm really, really confident, you should use AI, it's brilliant, and I'm not specific, and you don't really understand what you're going to get, again, I'm going to miss out. So you need to have a clear sales message first of all, be able to explain it so anybody can understand it, and anybody, not just your ideal buyer, anybody can understand it, and then you've got to deliver that confidently. And by confident, I kind of just mean concisely. I'm aware that I talk a lot because I get all excited when I'm on podcasts and things, but the output of the work for my clients and the way I communicate about my own business is designed to be as concise as possible. Because if you say, why should I choose you? What's your USP? If I give you a blah, blah, blah around the houses answer, that's less compelling than I say, actually, Thomas, there's 3 reasons people work with us. This one, this one, and this one. And I think you're number 2, if I've got this right. That's far more compelling. And it's just the conciseness that makes the difference.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's exactly it. That's what people need to know about, right? That it is that simple.
When I did mine,
but not easy.
Not easy.
James, having a accountancy background and somebody who loves approaches, and I use appreciative inquiry approach a lot in my work. When I've seen your paint by numbers approach, said I have to ask that question. So what can you tell us about that approach, please?
Well, back in 2017, when I started the business, I kind of did 2 things simultaneously. So I started working with clients, creating messaging for them. And I was, if you ever seen the film Wallace and Gromit, where they're laying the track as the thing's going along, I was basically doing that, which a lot of business owners do at the start. So I was working that out. And then I was reflecting on it. And I remember it very distinctly. I was sat in a Pret in Baker Street in London. I thought, if I can document what I'm doing, it will help me to understand it better, but it also helped me to communicate that easier to my buyers too. So I started to document all these different kind of situations and feelings and notions and every part. I wanted to turn selling into paint by numbers. So as of today, I've got 603 individualized components that we can then curate together. So you're talking about differentiating the marketplace earlier on. Now, you have to bear with me because I don't know the number off the top of my head because my things are evolving all the time, but I've got upwards of 50 different strategies you can use to differentiate, way more than 50. So the trouble is with business is people don't know, and it sounds really broad when I say this, but they don't know what to say to sell their offering, and they don't know what to do. And that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? So when you know what to say and you have a clear sales message, then you need to know what to do. And so having this paint by numbers approach is just giving people a play-by-play guide as to how to approach any given situation.
Okay, any given situation. So it's quite tailor-made.
Sales situation.
Yeah, situation, but quite tailor-made to whatever situation you're in. But you have the formula, you have that approach that it's there, you just can put different components and then you have your output. Am I right in saying that?
I'll give you some examples. So the 603 components, I've siloed them down into things like how to find buyers, how to follow them up, how to close them, how to differentiate, how to justify the price, how to make an intangible offering feel more tangible.
I visualize you have a lab, like a chemistry lab. You have all little ingredients. And
I've got a very big spreadsheet. A very big spreadsheet. That's what I've got, and about 1,000 pages on my website.
That 101, James.
James, I was listening to some of your podcasts, right? And on your podcast, if anybody's listening to us here at the moment, you need to go and check out James's podcast, The Daily Sales Message, where every single day he's committed to giving a nugget. Or maybe more than one nugget in a very, very precise. It's not going to take you long. Most of them are 3 to 5 minutes, something like that. Am I right in saying that, James?
Yeah. Some of them are even less than that. So sometimes the intro and outro take longer than the actual message. It's great.
But one of the things I picked up on it is when you hear about a sales consultant, immediately the perception is, oh, he's working with sales teams. But I picked up from it that you don't just work with sales teams, and you've got content strategies and everything for people. And you're currently working, or you have worked in the past, with marketing teams. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. I work with business owners, marketing teams, salespeople, anybody that needs to communicate with the outside world about the business. That's who I work with. So we'd say that if you imagine a clear sales message, which is just the most concise and commercially viable articulation of the business, that's your recipe. Those are your brand guidelines. It's your messaging guidelines. We just use those to influence social media posts, pitches, business cards, email signatures. It's used as a blueprint. So I then work with teams to integrate that into the rest of the business.
Wow. Okay. Yes. Well, that's good to know because having a tech and a marketing background myself, I can relate to people not understanding what they should be doing, and it's lovely to have somebody like you coming in as a consultant and helping a marketing team out. And I'm being very vague on that one now.
Yeah, Thomas, I know your passion to the next question or the next topic I'd like you to ask James.
Yeah,
Something
well,
to do with magic.
With magic. Oh, yeah, I've forgotten that one, right? Yes.
Well, I knew that. I better remind it, right? Because I want to hear about it.
Oh, right. Well, there's no need. Tell me, James, is it an interest, a passion, or an accident that you got involved in magic?
In magic? No, I'm not involved in magic, but I use magic as part of my... I think what you're getting at is I use schemas. I use schemas within the work that I do. So I use this example where it feels like a magic trick, but it's not. So if I give you 3 pieces of information, red, sporty, and fast, red, sporty, and fast, I know you're thinking of a car. It's probably a Ferrari, and it's going to be shiny, and it's going to be on a sunny day.
No, he's thinking about Anna Rooney, so...
I know.
Very good. I've never had that happen before.
No, I was thinking of the car.
Yeah. So you're trying to throw me off, Anna. So a schema. So how we communicate. So although I use the term sales in what I do, but it's all about communication. How do you compute information? So when we speak to somebody, they're painting a picture in their own head. So the things we give them help them to paint that picture. So I use schemas in my work, and they feel like magic to help. If I can give you less words, but I can get the point across. I'll give you a real world example. I work with a corporate travel agency, and they really look after people. They provide a high level of service, but unless they literally say, we're really good and we look after you, it's hard to get that point across. So they have a 3-word tagline of their approach to corporate travel, which is this: people, not passengers. People, not passengers. Will treat you like a person, not a passenger. So straight away, you should be able to write me a paragraph on what you think that would be like. They probably know your first name, not just your surname. They might know your partner's name, preferences for food, etc., and you'd be absolutely right. But I've been able to make you think that by just saying people, not passengers, and that's more compelling. So yes. that's kind of the magic part of clear sales message.
I think originally, and it's brilliant that you told us that, because that's not what I was referring to. What we're referring to is you were made disappear by David Copperfield.
Oh yes, there's that as well. Yeah, I'm the worst person for if you go to like a networking event and say, tell us something we don't know. I've got quite a few choices, and yes. David Copperfield made me disappear in Vegas. So I went to Vegas a few years ago. We were at the MGM Grand, went to one of his shows, and it's a trick called 13. So they take 13. I don't think they do it anymore because he was sued, unfortunately, because somebody got injured doing it. So they take 13 people from the audience, and you go up to the stage. And at that point, I was thinking, what's going to happen? I'm not sure. I'm kind of looking around the stage thinking, I'm trying to work out where the magic is. And as soon as they said, can you run? I think I know how this trick's going to work. So they put 13 people on like 2 rows of seats like this. They raise the platform up, close the curtains, and then as the audience, they open the curtains and we're gone. And that's what you see. But for us, what happened was that the platform raises up, the seats kind of magically drop away, and we literally ran through a perfectly built doorway and sturdy staircase behind us. But you couldn't see this from the audience. So it was an incredible trick. And then we run out of the casino onto the strip, back in through. So as an audience member, you see us go onto the stage, go up, curtains close, curtains open, we're gone, and then we're behind you. And that's the trick. But yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. It's an amazing thing to be part of.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'd forgotten that we knew that much about you. Not that detailed, but yes. All right. So, where am I going? Oh, right. This is where I'm going with the next part of it is, James, while Anna asks everybody one question, I ask everybody the very same question towards the end of our show. And that is, because we are the practical show, we're just practical show, we like to give practical tips to people. So if I asked you, for our listeners that are listening today, if you could give them one practical tip that they could implement in their business today that would help them move forward in a positive way, what would you say?
Yeah, I've got nothing. No. So there's a couple. So the first one is to understand what you're selling to people. So, and I use this articulation as selling the destination, not the journey. You might have heard this kind of stuff before, but most people, even though they might be aware of it, they don't do it. So if you see an advert for an airline, for example, you very rarely see a plane or a plane seat in that advert. You'll see the Eiffel Tower, Vegas, Germany, etc. They're changing the order of what they're focusing on. They're basically saying, would you like a holiday versus would you like a plane seat? So consider, what are you really selling to your buyers, and focus on that. Generally, it's a feeling or an emotion. Focus on that first of all, and you'll be streets ahead of most people. The second one is the trigger point. So you might know who your ideal client profile, your ICP is, but when do they need you? What's happening for them? Where's the urgency? What's going on? Because if you understand when they need you, then it's much easier for you to then target them and know so you know what to say, what they were really buying, and when to say it to them. The third one, I've got 603 of these, by the way, so stop me when you're ready. The third one is trying to find them in groups. So it's best to find people in groups. Either you can get them through referral partners. So if I'm working, so for Clear Sales Message, for example, the day I realized that when somebody has a website made, they go to a web company and the web company says, great, would you like to tell us about your business? And we'll just cut and paste the copy. And there's a bit of dissonance there because the person expects the web company to do it, blah, blah, blah. I hook up with web companies and they feed me their clients. So we either need to find referral partners who are complementary to what we're doing, or we're finding interest groups, whether it's trade associations, etc. Where can you find these people en masse rather than going to them one-to-one, just so you can be more efficient with your outreach and with your time?
Well, James, we could keep going on this show forever, right?
That is a masterclass.
It's been absolutely fantastic having you here. Tell me, if people want to learn more about you, I've got some details here. If you want to add more, I've got your clearsalesmessage.com, your website. I've got your LinkedIn address up here, which is linkedin.com/in/James Newell UK, all one word. Is there anything else you would like to add to that, James?
LinkedIn's the best place to find me, but if you're listening or watching this, you're into podcasts, so the Daily Sales Message, which you can find on Spotify and all the other podcast platforms, that is a daily podcast where I share simple and actionable advice, a bit like the couple of things I've just shared there, but it's one thing per day for the foreseeable future. I've already recorded about 500 episodes, so there's lots to talk about.
Absolutely fantastic. Cool. Listen, thanks very much for coming along, and to all our listeners, including Desmond Lowry, who's been writing up some comments. We really appreciate everything. We are out of time, so with that, I am just going to have to say thank you very much and we're out of here.
Yeah, Thomas, I just want to say to our team live, thank you so much for being here and supporting us, and our team replay. So see you all on our next show. Thank you, James.
Thank you.